Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Frank Smith is back in court as his trial continues.
2 more men murdered within a matter of hours, and now police need your help.
Following that threat to sue coming from gaming operators, the government says they are ready to rumble.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, a dramatic day in the Frank Smith bribery and extortion trial as National Security Minister Marvin Dames took the stand this afternoon in a packed courtroom. During his testimony, Dames revealed it was his cabinet colleague, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who referred the prosecution's star witness, Barbara Hanna, to him and that he met with her in his constituency office. Jasmine Brown joins me now from the Magistrates Court. Jasmine?
That's right, Christina. Dames left the courthouse just over an hour ago, where he spent more than 3 hours on the stand as he was cross-examined by the defense. It was standing room only inside the packed courtroom as the National Security Minister took the stand in the Frank Smith trial. Smith is on trial before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt over allegations that he demanded and accepted $60,000 in bribes from Barbara Hanna, whose cleaning company had secured a contract with the PHA. Under questioning by lead defense attorney Keith Knight QC, Dames told the court he first heard about Barbara Hanna in late May, early June 2017, when Elizabeth MP and Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands referred her to him. Dames said during the initial conversation, he told Dr. Sands to give Hanna his cell phone number. Following that conversation, Dames testified that he met with Hanna at his Mount Moriah constituency office. He said during that meeting, Hanna appeared desperate, afraid, and visibly shaken. Knight, who is a former Justice and Security Minister in Jamaica, asked Dames if he was aware that the role of a National Security Minister is to create policy, and the role of a police officer is to investigate and conduct interviews. Dames agreed with Knight's assertion but denied that he interviewed Hanna during their meeting at his constituency office. The minister explained that they met at his constituency office and not the Ministry of National Security because of his and Hanna's schedules. At several points during cross-examination, Knight raised his voice as Dames sought to elaborate. As the questioning became more heated, Knight pointed out that Dames called Hanna 13 times between June 6th and June 23rd. Dames said most of those calls were attempts to reach Hanna only after Dr. Sands told him Hanna was trying to reach him following their meeting. He said he called back because after their initial meeting, he told Hanna he would reach out to her, and he is a minister who wants to keep his promises. Dames insisted there was nothing unusual about the calls. As he was being questioned about the calls, Dames said that someone from the defense went to BTC and paid the bill for his personal cell phone and was able to obtain both he and his wife's personal bills. He called it a matter of national security. Meanwhile, Knight revealed that Dames had made changes to his June 4th written statement, and the defense was handed a new statement moments before the trial began. Dames responded by saying that he amended a section of his initial statement because it did not read the way it should have. The Jamaican QC also asked Dames why he didn't immediately refer the matter to the police and asserted that he did his cabinet colleague Dr. Sands a disservice by not telling him to take the matter to police. As he wrapped up his cross-examination, Knight asserted that Dames meddled with the investigation and went against his own statements to the press, where he indicated corruption investigations should not come before politicians. Dames denied the assertions. During cross, lead prosecution attorney Edward Jenkins pointed out that Dames only met Hanna once. He had no role in Smith being charged, he did not threaten Hanna, did not ask her to lie, and did not bribe her. While Dames spent hours on the stand, Assistant Commissioner of Police and head of the Anti-Corruption Unit Paul Roll only spent minutes. He testified that on June 27, 2017, he received a call from Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson asking him to see Dames on the matter. Roll testified that as a result, he went to Dames' office, where the National Security Minister called a woman who identified herself as Barbara Hanna. After that call, he says they met at his office a week later, where Hanna gave her official complaint. Now, despite that cross-examination being heated at times, Knight ended his questioning by telling Dames to have a good evening. In response, Dames told him, "Welcome to the Bahamas. I hope you enjoy your time here." Reporting from the Magistrates Court for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, in other news, police are on the scene of a double shooting at Cox Street, Fox Hill, where one man is confirmed dead and another injured. We'll bring you more details on the active scene in our 10 p.m. newscast. Meanwhile, police are still investigating 2 homicides that occurred in the past 24 hours. Jared Higgs tells us more.
Gun violence struck A.F. Adderley Junior High School in the wee hours of Tuesday morning, and police say a security guard was murdered while sitting in his vehicle on campus.
Shortly around 4:30, 2 persons entered the compound here. They approached the vehicle, and it appears as if they attacked the security officer, opened fire. He was subsequently shot.
According to police, the victim is 65-year-old Errol Williams of Pride Estates. According to A.F. Adderley's principal, Dr. Virginia Romer, the security officer was only working at the school for 1 week. She says in that short time, she grew fond of him.
Even though I would have said that to them, have a good evening and I'll see you tomorrow, that was not the case for Mr. Williams. And then on top of that, to know that Mr. Williams had just joined us today would have made a week on the job here at A.F. Adderley and being a part of our family. And so quickly to have lost his life as he, carried out his duties.
Romer says the women's national basketball team was practicing in the gym until around 9 Monday night. She says she instructed her security guards, including Williams, to lock up after the team left, with the culprits believed to have entered the premises through a hole in the school's perimeter. And with several schools, sports teams and other organizations regularly utilizing the school's facilities, the principal says security needs beefing up.
Also, I think we may need to have more patrol from the police, circling the campus or possibly coming on the campus every now and then to see what's happening. But we may have to step up the number of security officers that we have on the campus.
This latest killing pushes the country's murder count for the year to 46. It comes mere hours after police say a man was murdered in Fox Hill. Superintendent Shanta Knoll says a man was walking along Step Street when a brief chat with the occupants of a vehicle turned deadly.
Shortly after 9 p.m., this male was walking on Step Street in Fox Hill when we are told a dark color vehicle pulled beside him. He had a conversation with the occupants of the vehicle before they shot him and sped away.
Police confirmed the victim's identity as 36-year-old Anthony Bryce of Fox Hill.
The family members say the 36-year-old was a family man who got up early every morning to work. They say seeing him shot down in the road was a terrifying experience.
Despite the recent spate of murders, this year's murder count remains steadily behind the pace of murders in 2017. This time last year, there were 65 homicides on record. That represents a 29% decrease in murders. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, just one day after National Security Minister Marvin Dames told reporters that Bahamians have no reason to feel unsafe, the country recorded 6 murders in less than a week. Earlier today, the top brass of the police force sought to allay the fear of crime. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Police will be on the streets of New Providence in full force in the coming days. This after police opened 2 more murder investigations overnight, following 2 separate shooting incidents less than 12 hours apart. Acting Commissioner of Police Emric Seymour said the killings have prompted changes in their crime-fighting plan.
We have, in fact, made some already, and of course, we don't want to televise what it is we want to do, okay? But be assured that we are paying attention and, of course, adjusting accordingly. And we're satisfied with the direction in which we're going. 3 of the 5 murders this past week, according to police, appear to be gang-related. The other 2, including the shooting death of a 65-year-old security officer at a junior high school this morning and a taxi driver as he arrived home over the weekend, the result of an armed robbery.
As you move about your daily chores, as you move and drive home, whether it's a day or nighttime, to pay attention to your surroundings. Be aware and try to be alert as you move. If you see any suspicious vehicle that you are not comfortable with, drive to the nearest police station or drive to an area where there's a number of persons that could assist.
And now, police are on the hunt for several suspects wanted for murder, attempted murder, and armed robbery.
Franklin Dean Jr. of Yellow Ella Gardens. We need to see him for attempted murder. Perry Pickering of Dorset Alley. Last information we had on him, he may be somewhere in Bimini. So
police are also looking for 28-year-old Alfred George, 43-year-old Cordell Smith, 18-year-old Edward Colebrook, 24-year-old Kirby Pierre, and 26-year-old Shelman McKinney. Meanwhile, Fernandez says authorities have also noticed a change in vehicle being used during these crimes.
Small vehicles are being used, such as the Honda Fit, Honda Note. A number of those small vehicles are being used in the commission of these offenses. Some of them are stolen, we know, and it's easy to remove them.
Now, if you have any information that can assist police with their investigations, you're asked to contact them at 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 328-TIPS. Reporting from the police headquarters for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
As gaming operators and the government prepare to battle it out in court, Attorney General Carl Bethel asserted today that mouths can say anything and people can put anything on paper. He was responding to Attorney Wayne Monroe, who said the BGOA has instructed him to proceed with legal action. Jillian Gray reports.
The threat coming from gaming operators to sue the government over the new taxation hike in that industry is a fight that the AG says the government is more than ready to have.
Mouth could say anything and people could put anything on paper. They say they're going to sue, we'll see. If they sue, they'll be fought in court.
Attorney Wayne Monroe told our news on Monday that the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association has instructed him to take the government to court over its proposed sliding scale tax for the industry. The move comes 1 week after attorney Alfred Sayers wrote Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest requesting a meeting.
The government of the Bahamas is sovereign, and it will not be bullied by threats of any legal action.
A recent study released by the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association warned that the proposed sliding scale tax could drive 30% of the industry's existing customer base to an underground black market.
If they go underground, they'll be dug up. We have a whole arsenal of new powers under the Proceeds of Crime Act to deal with persons who decide that they want to break the law. So we're not worried about whether they try and go underground, break the law, or go to court.
We are not going to permit any kind of illegal activity in this jurisdiction.
The immediate past executive director for the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force wrote the Bahamas government and the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association, warning that the Bahamas could face renewed anti-money laundering sanctions if the industry was driven underground by the new tax structure. Bethel called that letter quite peculiar.
A letter making such a spurious and false claim is not only at the first instance sent to the Prime Minister and myself as Attorney General, but also to the lawyer for the numbers boys. It sounds like somebody's looking for a job from someone. I have nothing further to say on the letter.
Under the new sliding scale tax, government would collect between 20 and 50% of revenue from gaming operators depending on their earnings.
Yes, there is pain today, but it's pain that we all feel. We all feel. But unfortunately, most of us don't have the multi-millions of the numbers boys to hire high-priced consultants to make a major pitch on social media, to be in the newspapers, voicing our pain. Well, their pain, in terms of paying taxes, it seems to me that they don't even want to pay taxes that are established as benchmark levels in other countries. They want this special deal they got cut in 2015. Well, those days are over.
Bethel insisted that the government's tax rates have been benchmarked against the standard rates of gaming taxes in other jurisdictions.
They're just saying they don't want to pay it, and they have the money, and evidently money they believe gives them status. They believe money gives them political clout. Well, we'll find out. But you know, there's all saying that hog know where to rub.
We are at this point firm on our resolve with respect to the increase in the taxation. We believe that it is fair.
As for the gaming operators' claims that the proposed tax is discriminatory, the AG dismissed it as emotional rhetoric, which is utterly untrue and utterly irrelevant. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
On the heels of a public domain survey which shows that 73% of respondents oppose the VAT hike and only 7% of them believe the new budget is the people's budget, Finance Minister Peter Turnquest says the administration will hold town meetings in each constituency to address legitimate concerns.
We have done, I think, a very good job in terms of trying to explain it in Parliament. Unfortunately, some people have not been able to hear that message, and we are going in each constituency and holding town meetings and clarifying, addressing the concerns that Bahamians legitimately have about the budget. And we've had, quite frankly, a very good response to once people were able to get the information directly rather than from these fake news and all of these WhatsApp things that are going around that are distorting the facts.
According to the new survey, 73% of respondents oppose the budget and 62% of them believe it benefits F&M special interests. While in opposition, F&M MPs voted against the VAT bill. On the campaign trail, the party promised a tax holiday for Bahamians ahead of the start of the new school year. Turnquest says government is considering a VAT-free weekend, but maybe not this year.
We're thinking about that. I would probably say that this year it is unlikely, but we haven't come to a conclusion on that. But that is something that we would like to offer because, again, we know getting back to school is expensive. And so we would like to be able to do something like that. And that's the kind of thing we can consider next year, because once we pay this large tranche of past bills this year, $172 million, next year we have a bit of room that we can look at things like a VAT-free weekend. And we would like to do that for the Bahamian people because, again, we recognize that, what we're asking is a sacrifice.
Well, police on Abaco discovered $600,000 worth of marijuana plants growing in a bushy area south of Leonard Thompson International Airport this afternoon. Acting on information, officers found the marijuana field, which contained 1,000 plants ranging in height from 2 feet to 8 feet. No arrests were made in this matter. Police investigations continue. Still to come on our news, the PLP slams controversial comments by the financial secretary. Plus, the Bahamas could have a U.S. ambassador this year. That's coming up when our news returns.